The AI future is coming. We all know it, and the gaming industry is no exception. I want to go over 5 ways how I think AI can be and should be used in the gaming industry that would actually be a net positive for everybody. I know, surprising. Not a doom and gloom AI video. Crazy. Make sure to watch to the end. So, the first way I think that AI could actually be beneficial in the gaming industry and help is with asset optimizations. So when it comes to these big photorealistic, 4K games, the 3D models in it are very, very complex. I have two examples here that I'm going to use throughout the video, and that is Horizon Forbidden West and Spider-Man 2, PS5. I think Spider-Man 2 was a $300 million budget. I'm not sure what the budget was for Horizon Forbidden West. I think it's going to be a little less. Spider-Man was probably a little more inflated because Disney owns Spider-Man or Sony, whatever, with the Disney tax on Spider-Man. Now, with these games, with the big, photorealistic models here, like, these giant robots and even the main characters, all these models are made out of triangles, just thousands and thousands and thousands of triangles. Maybe millions, I don't know. I'm not a 3D artist, but I've dabbled in it a little bit. And when it comes to these 3D models in terms of game optimizations, the more triangles in a model, the heavier that model is to render. So less triangles, the better. If AI can be used in a way where the artist can just focus on making their, really impressive, super artistic, beautiful 3D models, and they don't have to worry about optimizations in terms of the technical art side at the same time. If they can build their models and then, feed it to an AI and be like, hey, generate me this model one to one, but use the absolute minimum amount of triangles possible. I think we're gonna that will just unlock more performance. Instead of needing the PlayStation 6 just to brute force these lazy unoptimized art assets. It could be lazy, it could just be lack of skill compared to previous devs, but also previous devs that didn't have to deal with this 4K super hyper realistic type of games that we have today. I think that'd be a net positive because let the artist focus on the art, and then if AI can help, speed up that process to make it optimize, I think we'd actually get better running games. And then if that can happen, even post PlayStation 6 coming out, brute forcing our way through it, it might open the doors to bigger games because now we have this way already. PlayStation 5, we haven't even used the power of it properly because all these games are just so unoptimized. If we raise the ceiling of the hardware, but then also actually get some real optimization going, I think this is one avenue. There's many avenues in terms of optimization, but I think that'd be largely inoffensive. Let the humans create the models, create the art by hand, but they don't have to worry about optimizations. Let the AI, rerun it and rebuild it one to one, but just the minimum amount of triangles. And I think that'd be a benefit. Very similarly with both these examples. So Horizon Forbidden West, there are a ton of trees, just a ton of trees. And Spider-Man 2 has a ton of buildings. And, to be photorealistic, there's just probably hundreds or thousands of different tree models, all very similar, but just slightly different because that's how the real world works. There's not the same tree everywhere. Nintendo can get away with using a very minimum amount of assets and reusing. They'd probably have a few trees, 4 or 5 trees, and reuse them. They can get away with that because of their art style. But when you're doing a photorealistic 4K game, there's probably a ton of trees, a ton of different bushes, a ton of different types of grass. Again, if you're more of an actual 3D artist, you can correct me in the comments. But tons of rocks, all this just garbage busy work. I'm sure they use asset packs that are already made, some environmental asset packs, but even still, at some level, there's probably just a ton of just variations of the assets that keep being reused. And for each different type of asset, even back with optimization talking point, that's more different types of assets that need to be loaded into the system. But either way, if they're all being made by hand by artists, that I can envision that's a lot of busy work. Again, there's probably asset packs and stuff for all this, but at the same time, asset packs can only get you so far because all the texture and the art needs to blend together. So if you look at some indie games, if you dabbled in indie game development, it's really hard to just really rely on just only asset packs because it would be really obvious that 2 different sets of assets came from different packs and the art styles don't mesh. So at some point there has to be some kind of like hands-on human crafted development here when it comes to making all these assets work and blend together. If let's say the tree example, let's say they're not, let's use for argument's sake, they're not using an environmental pack, and or even if like the people who made the environmental pack, uh if they want like 100 different trees in this game, let's say the artists make 5 or 10 of those trees by hand and then feed them to the AI. Like, here's 10 different trees, generate me 100 more, all different variations, but fits the same art style. And trees is just an example. So again, I know there's environmental assets packs that might be a bad example if you decide to nitpick that. But you know, for other assets too, I don't know, maybe enemy variations, stuff like that. I think that could be like that can kill off some busy work, and if that's something that can be done to just, you know, handcraft some Lego blocks, have the AI generate more Lego blocks, you know, of different variations, and then just let like the level builders like use those blocks to like craft the levels, you know, instead of just like, oh, I need to like we need to spend all this time making new trees and stuff. If that can be a source of uh shaving off some development time, I think that's a net positive. Spider-Man 2, you can think of it as like the buildings in New York. Every building's different because that's how, you know, it works in real life. Like largely they're all different, but who cares, you know? Like, or Pokemon Legends ZA, for example, that has not a hyper realistic style, but I know I've seen some screenshots of that one where the buildings look bland. I mean, who cares if those are generated or not? But I like, you know, let the humans create some of them and let them still build the levels. But when it comes to all this like super variation, do we care? Like, do gamers really care? There still needs to be a human involved to, you know, after going to, you know, make the initial batch, run it through the AI, and then edit them to make and like verify and quality check to make sure they're not broken. That's a very important step. Uh, I think that could be a net benefit. Same with inspiration. So both these games also have, you know, they're big open world games, and they have a bunch of just like side quests and like activities and little side missions. So you have your main story, which I think needs to be human crafted all the way through and through. When it comes to the side stories, I think like Horizon Forbidden West has these like camps that like you go and you infiltrate and you just destroy everybody and like that's it. And you do it like 10 times. There's like a checklist. You do 10 of them throughout the game. Spider-Man 2, I know there's other like time trial challenges, or like there was like Mysterio challenges in this one where you go to a different world, fight a bunch of waves of bad guys, like a horde mode and whatever. There's like 10 of them. And those are just one examples each game, and they each have like 10 activities that you do 10 times. Like if humans make the like 2 of them and then they go, you know, ask AI make 8 more of these similar style, like make 8 different more camps uh in the same style as this, and like, you know, again, like it doesn't have to be like fully generated. It could just be like inspiration that like here's like the layout for another camp to help speed up the development on this just like busy work. Like, you know, maybe a lot of people don't play, you can just play the single player story every once. I think yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one, I got the platinum, I did everything 100%. Forbidden West didn't have that magic for me. Didn't like it as I didn't get. I don't know. It could have been my headspace at the time or the timing. I didn't get as into it. I didn't 100% get the platinum. I just focused on the main quest stuff. And so, like when it comes to games like this, you know, if they're gonna insist on keep making big games like this, I don't think they need to be spending $300 million for all that busy work. I don't know if we need to wait 8 years of development time, which feels like 800 years. Just for all this extra busy work that they're working on, when all we care, many people just care about the main story. If AI can help speed up that development process, you know, again, initially starting with the humans, like human crafted, and then just like, you know, again, in the end, it's busy work anyway, whether humans make it or not. And I don't think that's a very offensive use of AI when it comes to game development in the industry. Very similar, very easy, low hanging fruits, code development or code generation. That's what a lot of people probably think of with AI in general. AI is pretty good at writing code, no doubt. I've never really been able to generate code with AI and just copy paste and have it work. I've played with it a little bit. I don't rely on it by any means. but it can do it, and it's useful. No doubt, like it can help. Again, just like with inspiration, I've been talking more about art, but code wise too, it can be a source of inspiration, speed up development time from 16 hours down to 4 hours. First thing that comes to mind though is something I feel like would be largely inoffensive is like mini games. So like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a lot of people complained about like how many mini games are in that game. I loved it. I love the massive nature of that game. Uh, just again, could be my headspace, could be the time that I decided to play it. I got very invested, very involved, got the platinum on that 200 hours. I just thought the mini games were like, wow, in this one game, there's just so many games. There's a Wave Racer game, there's a Mario Kart game, there's a Star Fox game. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. But let's talk about like the Star Fox game. There's this like Star Fox mini game within the game. And if that entire mini game was AI generated, I wouldn't care. I don't know how many people would care. Most people didn't like the mini games anyway when you hear online. I think that'd be largely inoffensive. If that mini game, I'm glad it exists in the game because I loved just how big the game was. I'm glad the mini game was in the game. But if that particular like set of code, the set of assets, if that was like all AI generated, largely like with an AI tool, really helps speed up that development. The code for it, the assets of it. Of course, like still humans would have to be involved a little bit. But if that little mini game could have been created in like 2 days, 3 days, a week, within like 1 week, because I don't know how long it took to make any of these mini games, and so for like how long it took the game to develop, like if that can help shave years off the development time and still have that scope for the people who like and appreciate that scope in the games, in these big open world games, I think that'd be largely inoffensive. Again, humans create the main story, the main game, and all of that, and all this extra little side stuff, whether it be like the art assets, the layout of the levels, maybe even entire mini games. If AI is getting to the point where it can actually generate entire games, which I think we're very far from that. But very far, could be 5 years with exponential rate of improvement. Who knows? But like something like that a mini game is still a full game. So if that can be generated and very quickly and put into the game, I think I think that'd be a net benefit and largely inoffensive. I don't think many people would care. Again, as long as the core game, the main story is human crafted and that part's not AI slop. Fetch quests and busy quests and mini games, a lot of people consider that slop anyway. So like if it's AI generated and it fits, if there's humans there quality checking and making sure it fits and meshes, then I think it's largely inoffensive. And all these bring me to my fifth reason, or fifth way I hope AI works. And it's really a culmination of all the points before, and that's to make more games faster and cheaper. You remember back in the the GameCube, the 360 days, those generations, we had entire trilogies on a single console. The time that's maybe the reason I didn't get so invested into this is because how much time passed between Horizon Dawn or Zero Dawn, Horizon Zero Dawn, and this one, Forbidden West. With that, when 5, 6 years pass, you start to lose like interest and you forget about the story and all of that. If this came 2 years after, would have probably loved it and got into it and been super hyped, just like how it was the first one. Spider-Man 2, same thing. If these games, this is $300 million. If you can make this game for $100 million because of the use of AI, and instead of taking 6 years to make, and be able to make this in 2 years, and then sell it for $50 instead of 70 or 80, I think that'd be a net positive for everybody. If the studios can use AI to make more games faster, and then be able to price them cheaper. So more games cheaper and faster. Instead of selling us this one game for $70 in the course of 6 years, if they can sell us two games for $50 each in the course of 6 years, and it's the same size game, I'm okay with the games becoming smaller actually. But if they insist on it being this size, because I'm sure if they make them smaller, people are going to complain about anything online. It really doesn't matter. But if they can make more games faster and sell them cheaper because of the use of AI, they would make more money because the two $50 games over 6 years versus one $70 game over the course of 6 years. I think they'd make more money, and the gamers would get more games, and we won't have to have these huge waits for the next installment of a series. Like Gamers are hungry for these games, and the wait sucks. And I think that that'd be a net positive. I think that would actually just, I don't know. As again, using the tips or the methods earlier on in the video, like I don't think they can just like generate this game and it just become like with AI 100%. It would just be slop. People would see right through it. But as long as like the human development's at the core, and those methods before uh, are implemented in the game development process to make games. Oh, I forgot to mention also optimized, cheaper, more games, more optimized, so not as broken. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't complain about that by any means. But none of this will happen. See you in the next video.